Hello, this is Sarah from Crafty Cats, and if you're here, it might be because you bought a kit from me, and I'm going to just run through the different supplies that are in your kit or other supplies that you're going to need to complete your project. So the very first project or kit that I'm going to have available is for this snowflake, and you're going to be given some paper. Your paper is not going to come like this. I'm just going to have the paper that you are going to need for the project that you're doing. But I need to show you, there could be some kits where I give you a full pack of paper because it might need a full pack. The paper is going to come like this with glue on the end holding the strips together. So you are going to use one strip at a time. So you just come to the end and carefully pull it off. If you are given a bag, keep the paper in. You just take off one strip at a time, and this is going to avoid any mess. And then just pull off the other end gently. There's one strip. Now, you actually aren't going to need scissors for most projects because you are going to get a cleaner edge, and I try to hide all of my ends, like where the end of the paper would be, so we're probably not even going to be able to find one right here. And I would have hidden them all in here. That's one of the tricks is, oh, there, you could probably see right in there. There's the end of the strip right there. If you rip the paper rather than using a pair of scissors, it's going to be a much neater end. So you're going to need a ruler that is measured in inches. All my instructions are going to be with inches. You might want a long one, might be convenient if we have to get some longer strips. You will be given a circle sizer ruler in your kit. So there is a ruler on the side here, but it only goes to 6 inches. So if you need something longer, you can just use that smaller one, but I find it easier just get a larger one. If I need 8 inches, I would just go down to the 8-inch mark. I just pinch with my thumb, hold it there, and rip. And there you go. There's your strip. Okay, so that's how you deal with the paper. You are going to be using a slotted tool. So on the metal end, you'll see there is a little slit in the metal. Now to get the paper in your tool, I find I don't come from the top and go down like that. That's like just as annoying as trying to thread in a needle. I like to come down further, kind of go in at an angle and slide it in like this, and then slide it up to the end. And I went too far. But you do want your paper to go right to the end for when you curl. It's going to give you a much neater end in the circle. And that's how you use your slotted tool. Once we get it, and here I'm going fast, but you want to make sure that you're overlapping the paper one right on top of the previous layer so that it's going to lay flat when you're done. Now I have a little bit of like beveling, so I would just pinch it down with my fingers to try and flatten it out. And then you come back to your circle sizer ruler and you would just put it in the appropriate circle, and you just let it go slowly. And if you have to make a bunch of the same size, then you can be consistent with your sizes with this ruler. Okay, so once, maybe I should stay zoomed in, because once you have that in your ruler, then the next thing you're going to want to do is you need to pick it up to add glue to it so that it doesn't come unspiraled. So you're going to need some tweezers. I use some fine tip tipped tweezers, you don't have to have such a fine tip. You can just use your regular tweezers. I also recently have been using the reverse action tweezer. So it's already closed. I have to pinch it to open it up. I find that this one is easier to use. And what I do is I hold down the coil so that I'm not going to accidentally have it fly off on me. That's happened before. I find the very end of the paper, so the very end of the strip for me is right here right now. And when I go to pick it up, I'm not picking just the very last end of the spiral. I need to pick up at least the last two so that it doesn't come unspiraled. And then I just bend back the piece of paper and then just add a little bit of glue. And when I say a little bit, I mean like we really want just a little bit. Oh, this is probably, it's a little gunked up because it was used last night at a class. And I probably should have warmed it up with my hands too to get it flowing. Well, this one might be more gunked up than I would have liked. There we go. Just a tiny little bit. And then what I've been doing recently is just coming in with the other tweezers, grabbing here and pinching down. But if you don't have two sets of tweezers, you can just use your finger. And if you have excess, if you have an excess amount of glue, then just wipe it off with your finger. And just keep like a wet cloth or something near you so you can wipe off your fingers when they start to get very sticky. So there's our coil. And the coil is what you're going to be using in many projects. So let's talk about the glue that I used. So I use that glue applicator. It's a fine tip applicator, and once you do get it flowing, just put it in a little dish with some wet paper towel and keep it upside down so that it doesn't get clogged up and it runs nicely. I just got these tiny little mason jars from the dollar store. So that glue is the Scotch Tacky Glue, and I find that it's thick enough, it dries quickly enough, and it dries clear. And it's a perfect consistency to work in those fine tipped applicators. A lot of people will say that they're using this, but do not put this in that fine tipped applicator. You will not be able to get it out. I do use this though. If I want to frame this, I would first glue it to a piece of cardstock. This is the glue I would use for that purpose. It's not very forgiving. You have to be very confident that you are going to want it where you're placing it, because you're probably not going to get it off and it's going to be a mess if you try. And all I do is I just put a daub on a piece of wax paper, and I just use my finger and I just dab it here and there, like along the edges. It doesn't have to be everywhere. And then I would just glue it down to my piece of cardstock. Now, first of all, to get all of these shapes, so we did use the circle ruler to get a circle, but you'll see that these shapes are not all circles. So you would just pinch it in different ways to make different shapes. So I will make videos to demonstrate how to do each individual shape, but just for now, really quickly, I can get a shape just like by pinching on either side like that. Okay, so once we have a shape, you might be given a template to use. So you want to tape down your template to a piece of either, what I'm using right here is a piece of just a piece of corkboard, but you don't have to use corkboard. If you don't have corkboard, you can use cardboard. Just make sure it's corrugated and that it's thick enough that you can get pins into it and they're not going to pop out. So when I go to glue a bunch of these shapes together, what I would do is I would pin it in the place where I want it on the template, like so, and then I would get my glue applicator, or however you're adding the glue. I would just put a little glue on the side there, get another one of these, line it up and pin it in place. So you're pinning just so that they don't wiggle around, so that makes it easier to get the next piece on. Okay, so another product that you might want to have, depending upon what you want to do, if you do want to use this as an ornament, because it's double stacked, I have 2 layers on this one. It's pretty stiff and sturdy. Like, I never put anything on the back of it at all to make it sturdier. But then I started to make another type of snowflake, and it didn't have the second layer, and I was worried about these coils popping out, especially if I'm going to be putting it on the Christmas tree. So what you can do is on the back side, take some Mod Podge. This is matte Mod Podge, and just put a little bit in. I just put it in like a pop bottle cap. Take a small brush and just paint basically where the different pieces of paper are next to one another. You want to put them there so that they will, they're not going to move. Now that's one option, is to use the Mod Podge, but if you did want to glitz up your snowflake, you can instead use a glitter glue. This one's called Stickles. This one is Stardust. I found that one is a really nice shade for snowflakes. So I would do that on the face, and I would just put the glitter glue just around the edges, again, where the paper strips are touching one another, and then when it dries, they won't move. You can also get some, in the kit, I will be giving you some jewels, but if you're making one on your own, then you can just purchase some jewels to add on there for a little extra bling. If you don't have a glue applicator, for years all I was doing was just taking a toothpick and just putting a daub of glue on a piece of wax paper, and then just getting the glue up using the toothpick. And so for the corkboard or your corrugated cardboard, I just tape down the template with some painter's tape, and then over on top of that is wax paper. And I think that's it. I really hope that you enjoy paper quilling, and let me know if you have any questions. Bye.